I left my ex for better, and he is the one with a better life. I, F31, met my ex, M28, about 5 years ago at a party, and looking back now, I can clearly see that we weren't good for each other. In fact, we were pretty terrible together. He was deep into drugs, and I was pretty much drowning myself in alcohol. We both had our own issues, and instead of helping each other out of it, we just fed into each other's bad habits. It was this toxic, endless cycle of us doing drugs, drinking too much, cheating on each other, and then partying even harder. There was never any stability between us, just chaos and destruction. About 2 years into the relationship, things took an unexpected turn when I found out I was pregnant. Honestly, neither of us was in any state to be parents, but we had to face it. He asked for a paternity test when I told him, and I didn't even take offense to it. I understood why. Our relationship was far from solid, and trust was not exactly our strong point. But the test confirmed the baby was his, and that was that. 9 months later, our baby girl was born. You'd think that would have been a turning point for us, but if anything, it just made things worse. He started drinking even more, and the drugs didn't stop. He was stressed, and instead of coping in healthy ways, he spiraled further into his addictions. It was tough on me too, but instead of sticking it out and trying to make it work, I made a decision I now regret. I left him. And to make things worse, I left him for another guy I'd met online. That was the moment everything changed for him. Losing me and our daughter was a huge wake-up call for him, and he finally made the decision to get clean. It wasn't easy, but he pulled through. Ever since then, we've managed to make an amazing co-parenting schedule that works so well for both of us. I know not everyone can say the same, but for us, it really does work. He's become an incredible dad, and honestly, he's an even better person now than he ever was when we were together. For around 3 years, everything seemed to be falling into place. He was sober, our daughter was happy, and I was starting to pick up the pieces of my life. Meanwhile, though, the relationship I left him for was falling apart. I won't go into too much detail because it's still pretty raw and traumatic, but it was toxic, worse than what I'd left behind. And it was no place for my daughter to be around, so I ended things. It was for the best, but it was hard to go through. During that time, my ex met his now wife, Romy, F23. She was working as a hostess at his restaurant while putting herself through college. They hit it off, and it wasn't long before they were together. Now, before anyone jumps in to comment on their age gap, let me stop you right there. Yes, there's an age difference, and yes, it does make me feel insecure sometimes, but I don't need anyone shaming my ex or Romy for it. I'd be a hypocrite if I judged him for that because, let's be real, there was an age gap between him and me too when we were together. So it is what it is. When I first met Romy, I was prepared to dislike her. I know that sounds petty, but it's the truth. I just couldn't help it. I kept searching for something to dislike about her. Maybe I hoped I'd find some flaw that would make me feel better about myself, but I couldn't. She was nothing but sweet to me, incredibly kind, and honestly, really impressive for her age. She's beautiful, successful, and mature, way more mature than I ever was at 23, that's for sure. What made it worse is that she's doing so much better than my ex and me, financially. She makes twice what we do combined. I'm not kidding when I say I don't even compare to her. She looks like a model, and I wish I were exaggerating, but I'm not. I remember how all the guys at the restaurant would flirt with her, trying to ask her out. And it wasn't just the employees, it was literally anyone who laid eyes on her. She's stunning, and to top it off, she's super modest. Before my ex, she hadn't even held hands with another guy. She was saving herself for marriage, which, to be honest, just makes me feel even worse about my past choices. Even my daughter loves her, and I can't blame her for that either. Romy's great with her, and I know my daughter feels comfortable and safe with her. I would never ask my daughter if she likes Romy more than me, because that's just toxic behavior, but sometimes I wonder. I'm glad my ex found someone who is good to our child, though. Romy may technically be a stepmom, but she's earned the title of mom in my eyes. She's that amazing. It's not Romy's fault that I feel so insecure and jealous, but I can't help it. She's worked hard for everything she has, and here I am, stuck in a life of my own making. I spent my early 20s partying, doing drugs, and making terrible decisions, and now I'm just a restaurant manager. I can't help but compare myself to her, but I know it's not fair. I know I shouldn't feel this way, but it gets to me when I hear my ex say things like, she's the best I've ever had. Because, well, she probably is. Romy is everything I wasn't. We were never good for each other, and she's a much better match for him. It also stings when I overhear the guys at work making jokes about how Romy's probably tighter than me because, let's be real, she probably is. She's only been with my ex, while I've had multiple partners and a child. But again, that's not her fault. Now, they're living in this gorgeous penthouse, and Romy even made a special room for my daughter. My daughter loves it there, and it's hard not to feel like I'm being replaced. I look at myself in the mirror, and I see someone who's out of shape, with flabby arms, a mom gut, and a scar from childbirth. I'm short, and everything about me feels saggy and tired. And then I look at Romy, tall, slim, with curves in all the right places, and I just feel even worse. But I refuse to be that bitter ex who hates the new wife for no reason. I can't stand those women, and Romy doesn't deserve that. She's done nothing wrong. My daughter doesn't deserve that either. She deserves a mom who is confident and happy, not someone who's wallowing in self-pity. At the end of the day, I know it's all my own doing. I left my ex when he was at his lowest, and now he's doing better than ever. And I'm the one stuck dealing with the fallout of my decisions. Thank you for reading this far. I'm on a waiting list for therapy, and I've started attending AA meetings after work, but if anyone has advice in the meantime, I'd really appreciate it.